And good evening. Yet again, we come on the air with news of an apparent attempt to assassinate the president. This the third attempt in 2 years against Donald Trump, and this time members of his cabinet are believed to be targets as well. And of all places, of all days, it happened at an event that celebrates the work of the journalists who cover the White House. Authorities say this 31-year-old suspect darted toward the ballroom with guns, knives, and a vendetta against the administration. And the new image tonight, rushed from the room, the president and top officials gathered back inside the Oval Office watching video of the attack. CBS News Chief White House Correspondent Nancy Cordes was with me at the dinner last night and is with me now as well. What do we know at this hour?
Tony, the sad thing is that this dinner was supposed to be a brief respite from the deep divisions in this country, a chance to unite around the freedoms that we all share. Instead, it sent 2,500 guests diving for cover, including the President of the United States, who now says he appears to have a dangerous job.
He was fast. He was running full blast, and they got him.
President Trump, still in his tuxedo late last night, hailed the Secret Service for saving his life again.
Where's it coming from?
In this video, if you listen closely, you can hear the series of shots and then the crashing of plates as officers rushed into the ballroom. As reporters crawled under the tables, the president and vice president were hustled out by their security details, as were the secretaries of Defense, Treasury, and Health and Human Services, along with the House Speaker and other leaders. The suspect had raced past the security checkpoint just upstairs from the ballroom, exchanging gunfire with agents before he was tackled. Authorities say Cole Thomas Allen, a teacher from California, sent a message to his family right before the incident saying his plan was to target administration officials, prioritized from highest ranking to lowest. His brother alerted police in New London, Connecticut, but it was too late.
Law enforcement has requested that we leave the premises consistent with protocol.
It was the third time in 2 years Trump has been targeted. First in Butler, Pennsylvania at a campaign event when a bullet grazed his ear, and then at his West Palm Beach golf course.
I am happy to be here.
The Washington Hilton, where last night's incident took place, has been the home of the annual White House Correspondents Dinner since 1968. It was also the scene of the attempted assassination of President Ronald Reagan in 1981. Police say the suspect in this incident booked a room at the hotel after traveling across the country by train. In his letter, he scoffed that there was, quote, no damn security.
We had resources all over. We had resources sitting at tables, literally in disguise, sitting maybe at your table, who knows? But we had people all over the room, so he had a long way to go. That was really a first line of defense, and they got him. And they really, they acted incredibly.
President Trump said last night and again today that the show must go on, that he wants a redo of the White House Correspondents' Dinner within the next 30 days. And Buckingham Palace has confirmed that King Charles still plans to visit the White House tomorrow. In fact, Tony, right outside the White House gates, the American and British flags have already been hung to greet him.
The business of the country goes on. Nancy, thank you very much. We're going to turn now to that conversation with President Trump, an exclusive interview. He sat down with 60 Minutes contributing correspondent Norah O'Donnell, talking about the chaotic moments after those shots were fired at the Washington Hilton on Saturday.
You see the security moving quickly,
right,
within seconds, grabbing the vice president by his coat, lifting him up, bringing him out. Then the counter assault comes in. Took 10 seconds for them to flank you, Mr. President, and then 20 seconds to get you out. It looked chaotic. At one point, you were down. What was happening?
Well, what happened is it was a little bit me. I wanted to see what was happening, and I wasn't making it that easy for him. I wanted to see what was going on. And by that time, we started to realize maybe it was a bad problem, different kind of a problem, bad one, and different than what would be normal noise from a ballroom, which you hear all the time. And I was surrounded by great people, and I probably made them act a little bit more slow. They said, wait a minute, let me see, wait a minute. So, I'm telling guys.
Just at that moment where it looks like you go sort of down with the service, you were telling them to wait?
Well, I know what happened is then I started walking with them. I started walking. And they said, please go down on the floor. So I went down, and First Lady went down also, but we were asked to go down by the agents as I was walking. In other words,
They wanted you almost to crawl
I was
out.
standing up, pretty much. I was standing up and then turned around the opposite direction and started pretty much walking out, pretty tall, a little bent over because I'm not looking to be standing too tall. And but I was walking out. It was about halfway there, and they said, "Please go down to the floor. Please go down to the floor." So I dropped to the floor. So did the First Lady.
And you can see Nora's full interview with President Trump tonight on 60 Minutes. Also tonight, authorities are digging into the background of the 31-year-old suspect who had no criminal record and was once named Teacher of the Month by his employer. But he did apparently write about his goals just moments before the alleged attack. Chief Correspondent Matt Gutman was also in the ballroom last evening and has more now. Matt, good evening.
Good evening, Tony. We're also learning more about how he allegedly did this. Sources telling us he went from his room on the 10th floor using a back staircase to evade security, carrying a duffel bag filled with weapons. And as soon as he was tackled, this breakneck investigation began into who this assailant was and how he managed to pierce what should have been the most secure spot on the planet.
That frenzied investigation into the suspect began overnight with this image posted by President Trump less than 2 hours after the shooting at the White House Correspondents Dinner. Down on his stomach, shirtless, hands zip-tied behind him, he was soon identified as Cole Thomas Allen, a 31-year-old teacher from Southern California with no criminal record. Apparently telling officers at the scene he was targeting administration officials. Police said they believe he opened fire on a Secret Service officer before being taken down. Within seconds, Secret Service stormed the room, preceded by those gunshots and clattering plates. As agents with long guns flooded in, we filmed. They bundled off the president, and now CBS News has confirmed that 12 of the 18 in the top line of presidential succession were also present.
So right there at the dais, where you see that flag, that's where President Trump was sitting. Up the stairs here, just over that landing where the gunman sprinted, apparently trying to get to some of these stairs, and that's where he was taken down, right over there.
Investigators tell us the suspect had planned the attack, believed to have left this suburban house south of Los Angeles on a train to Chicago on April 21st, arriving on April 23rd, Thursday. By Friday, the 24th, they say, he had checked into the Washington Hilton.
And multiple sources telling CBS News that the suspect stayed here on the 10th floor in one of these rooms at the very end of the corridor.
This individual was intent on doing as much harm and as much damage as he could.
We have also learned that Allen, Teacher of the Month in December of 2024 at a test preparation academy, had recently done target practice. And that night he posted writings described by law enforcement as a manifesto, which CBS News has reviewed. It was scheduled to be sent between 8 and 8:30. The shooting happened at 8:34 p.m. It begins with an apology to his family, friends, even those he traveled next to. He said he would target administration officials, and he wrote he did not expect to survive the incident. And like many guests, the alleged gunman was surprised by the security protocol. Writing, I expected security cameras at every bend, bugged hotel rooms, armed agents every 10 feet, metal detectors. What I got is nothing. No damn security. Not in the hotel, not in the event. The Secret Service has said their security protocol worked.
This is a multi-layered approach. The point of this checkpoint is to intercept individuals that were there.
And agents involved in securing the event tell us that agents were at tables, even undercover as hotel staff.
And in conversations with the Secret Service, they continue to say that their safety net worked. And they say that the evidence for that is that the president was kept in that ballroom for a period of time, and that's because it was the safest place in that entire hotel. Now, we expect that suspect to be arraigned here in Washington tomorrow. And, Tony, it is very likely that he will face additional charges.
We'll keep watching it, Matt. Thank you very much. The White House Correspondents Association was hosting last night's dinner, and as president of the association, our own Weijia Jiang was sitting right next to the president at the time of the attack. And Weijia joins us now. Weijia, thank you very much for being here. I've seen the pictures. The president is pulled from the stage, and you are going out right behind him. What was that moment like?
It was really surreal, Tony, because in the moments leading up to that, I wasn't sure what happened. I thought it was protesters in the crowd, which is something we are very used to. Yeah. But I didn't see any more gathering like that. And then I saw the SWAT officers coming toward the head table. And when I heard the word down, 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 I knew that there was an active threat. And so I did get on my knees and I crawled, right behind the president to get off the stage. And then as soon as I got backstage, I saw more than a dozen members of the SWAT team running. There were members of the president's advance team. That means they are in charge of making sure that event is secure, and obviously members of the Secret Service too. And I was just so concerned about what had unfolded because we hadn't had a confirmation of what the threat was. So it was really scary, frankly.
Yeah, I was in the ballroom, and at that moment, we didn't know. We knew there was a big reaction. Something serious had transpired, but we didn't know what. Throughout the night, you were able to stay in touch with the president. What was he saying to you?
We stayed in touch first through his team, and the main message was, I'm not going anywhere. He did not want to leave the hotel. He wanted to try to resume the show. And at one point, I was about to mention as much that the head table would be returning. And then we held off on that because obviously the agents had to do more work. And then at another point, the president called me into a hold room in the back where nobody in the hotel is allowed to go. This hotel has a specific room for the president, and he told me, despite what he wanted, based on protocol, that they would have to postpone the dinner. He wanted to tell me that before he posted it, and insisted that he wanted to, find another date for it, because he did not want to be deterred. He said, we can't let people silence us, especially on a night like tonight, because he was very much looking forward to this night after boycotting the dinner as president. His entire term, this was his first time attending as commander-in-chief.
So on that last point, he had not gone in his entire first term. He's had an often combative relationship with the press, and yet he wants this to go on. It sounds like if we can read anything into that, it's that he will not be deterred by an alleged assassin.
Correct. That's exactly what he said. And he also said, Tony, that he felt a lot of unity in the night, which is something that almost seemed to surprise him, but he said that this changed the relationship between the press and the presidency. He said that's what the dinner is supposed to do, and in a way, because we all experienced this together, that's exactly what it did.
Yeah. He also complimented your work, and we do as well. We hope it continues within the next 30 days. Thank you, Weijia. Appreciate it.